So I wanted to start with this image because I want to try to communicate that sort of energy you get when you're solving a problem with another person and you're sitting with them and you're building on the conversation together. And we've probably all had that experience, right? Of being in a room together, working on something and building on each other's ideas. And of course, a lot of schools are building specialized spaces for that, like studio spaces, and I guess that's sort of the idea of the CTET studio. But you don't need a studio. We see it in our breakout rooms, where students are sitting together and engaged and talking, and for me, I focus on creativity. I'll say creatively involved, but it could be any sort of engaging dialogue that they're having. So my question that I'm bringing to the table today is, okay, how do we make this happen online? And especially in the context, I'm going to contextualize this within a course that I teach called Leading Innovation. And my questions to you for after this speaking is, how might we create the energy and convenience of face-to-face creativity sessions when working online? And because it's not only that there's a certain energy, there's also, it's a very efficient way to develop ideas, right? And help each other build off each other ideas, to just be in the same room doing that. And then also, might online creativity sessions have their own unique advantages? So there is research, for example, that shows that brainstorming can be more effective online because people are more forthcoming. They might feel more reticent face-to-face. So there are certain advantages, but I don't feel that I've tapped into them yet, and I'm hoping that maybe I can sort of selfishly draw on the collective wisdom in the room. So what if online we're engaged in something that's wholly different, and we can actually articulate and name that? And I think this is an important problem to solve, not only for me or my learners, but or your learners, but in general, because learners are, this is the world they live in when they're doing business. And so if we can solve it in this microcosm, that would be, that would have broader value. So I hope that in your own way you have, even if you don't teach creativity per se, you probably teach something that relies on engaging conversation. And so I hope this challenge would have relevance to you as well. So in the specific context of this course, my goal is to enable learners to channel their creative potential and the potential of those they work with, because they're managers. So it might not be that they're creative, it might be that they're helping others be creative, to useful ends. And so I present them with a process called the creative problem-solving process. And it's a very simple structure. The first 2 weeks, they're grounded in the theoretical background on this. This is what the process is. The next, in weeks 3 to 5, they do a live case where I bring in an organizational leader and they work on that. And then at the end, they go out either into their own workplace or into some other authentic situation, and they facilitate a session. So, they learn it, they practice it, they do it in the real world. Very simple. And what I'd like to focus on in the next 2.5 minutes is that middle part, which is, because this is the first part is standard online teaching, right? Introducing them to the theory. The last part, they're going out, they're working fairly independently with the support of the cohort. I think that works fairly well. This is where I continue to struggle. So there's 5 steps in getting this live case organized, and so I need to prepare, right? I need to make the contacts like Mike was talking about, meet the case host, get documents ready. Well, I'll go through these step by step, actually. So there's 5 steps, and they seem to work well, but at the end of every session, what I hear is, I wish we could have worked together face to face. That's what the learner teams say. And I would like to, my dream for 3 years to now is that gets flipped on its head, that people aren't saying that anymore, because the online experience is in itself so compelling. So let's talk about each of those steps. So one is I prepare, the video that I was in there, CTET, not CTET, well, I guess they're part of CTET, Media Tech. Dave came and helped me out and videoed us, and we did an upfront video. Sometimes it's just as simple as, videoing the case host on my phone. I'm not high tech. Usually I don't have media help, but I prepare and get a document to the learners. The next step is the learners meet the case host, and once we did it with live stream, I usually just do it through Illuminate with the laptop going to wherever they are. So the case host last time was Timothy Vernon with Pacific Opera Victoria, and I just was at his house in front of the laptop. It was very low tech, but very effective, and the learners could dialogue with him. So far, this works. This is the stage, 1 minute, I'm on it. This is the stage where it gets a little messy. So then they have to work in teams to creatively to address this case challenge. And so, I like them to do observational research. So this is an example of students who went to a performance in Vancouver together. So if they're in the same city, they can go and do something together. Or we did something around biking. So a student who wasn't in the same city as the case host biked to work and did observational research. You know, but they kind of, it's very ad hoc. They use a whole bunch of different, you know, they're doing their observational research, they're Skyping with each other, we're using Moodle. Some of them are sharing documents on Dropbox or Google Docs. It doesn't feel like it's there yet for me. So for example, colleagues in Buffalo, they use a system called Cube, which is a virtual world that's easier to use than Second Life. And what that allows students to do when they're engaged in creative problem solving is you can put all your documents up in a virtual room, and then you can sort of come back into that room and have everything. So if there's an idea you want to pick up on that you sort of thought of 2 weeks ago, it will be there. I don't have anything analogous to that. I do find Linoit very helpful. Free program, very easy to use. And it's just an asynchronous sticky note program where students can stick things up and there's no learning curve. And so that's something that we use a lot in this class. So then they present to the case host, and because this is ungraded for reasons that I want them to take creative risk, I keep it very easy, 2-paragraph presentation. I know that there's more rich ways they could do it, but I want to minimize the work for them at this point because it's not graded. And then we comment, we give video feedback on their recommendation, the case hosts and myself. Again, so this seems to work, they like it, but you know, I always wonder in a real live situation, it's lesser than the live situation still because there isn't that dialogue, and the scheduling makes it really hard. So challenges remain. Students comment that they crave the energy of face-to-face. It's time-consuming, it's logistically complex. The students love it. I wouldn't take it out, but I still would like to improve it. The document management is clunky. They're using multiple steps in the creative process, and they have a lot of documents that I don't have a streamlined process for. And lack of dialogue between, I think I've been clear about the challenges. I don't want to give the impression that this is a total failure, but I do want to tap in on this, you know, opportunity to get your collective wisdom around how to make this better. How do we do this online? So my 2 questions, how might we create the energy and convenience, and might online creativity sessions have their own unique advantages? I'd love to talk about this more at the table afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. Done.